In our last video, we were in the Central Florida town of Ocala. We explored the historic downtown, including the Marion Theater. Caroline checked out the street art. And I checked out some of the historic buildings. In this video,
we're in St. Augustine, Florida.
For context, we were in St. Augustine on a late February weekend.
We're starting our journey of St. Augustine at the Castillo de San Marcos. St. Augustine is the oldest city in the U.S., dating back to 1565. The Castillo de San Marcos is the oldest masonry fort in the United States, built between 1672 and 1695 to protect the Spanish territory. When the British took over rule in 1763, it became known as St. Mark's Fort. The Spanish resumed rule in 1783, but ceded Florida to the United States in 1821. At that time, the fort was designated as a U.S. Army base and known as Fort Marion. In 1933, it was deactivated after 251 years of continuous military use. It became a national monument in 1924 and has over 600,000 visits per year. Because of its star shape and cannon placement, it has never been breached or taken by force.
For those that want to learn more, there is a paid attraction where you can tour the inside of the castle. But we decided we wanted to check out the waterfront, as it was such a gorgeous day.
Here we are walking on the Matanzas River. This is part of the Intercoastal Waterway. To our right is Highway A1A, Scenic and Historical Byway.
As is our usual protocol, we just took off walking without any particular plan. We decided to follow the waterway until it looked like we were leaving the core of the downtown area.
In short order, we reached the Bridge of Lions, a drawbridge dating back to 1927, which was built to allow cars to cross the Intercoastal Waterway. This bridge opens several times a day for boat traffic. There is a lion on each side of the bridge named Fiel and Ferme, or Faithful and Firm, and they are white marble replicas of the Medici lions in Florence, Italy.
Caroline and I both agreed walking this section in downtown St. Augustine reminded us a lot of walking along the Battery in Charleston.
So if you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check out our video of Charleston.
Check out the unique tiles on the sidewalk. Caroline and I found the heart of the downtown to be very walkable. Some of the streets even closed to traffic. With that said, if it's the tourist season, there is a lot of traffic, so you do have to be careful when you cross the streets.
The St. Francis Barracks were built between 1724 and 1755 by friars of the Order of St. Francis. It was turned into a military structure by the British in 1763. It's now the headquarters for the Florida National Guard, which consists of the Florida Army National Guard and the Florida Air National Guard. It is also home to the St. Augustine National Cemetery.
Just adjacent to the barracks was a very historical part of town, which we will return to later in the video. But first, I really was excited to check out Flagler College, which used to be one of the original hotels in the area.
Our Lady of Solitude Church and Hospital was built in 1572, with the hospital being added on in 1597, making it the first hospital in the continental United States. The Leitner Museum was founded in 1948 by Otto Leitner. It's a museum of art, architecture, history, and design. It's housed in the former Hotel Alcazar, a Gilded Age resort commissioned by Henry Flagler and finished in 1888. Straight ahead is the Casa Monica Hotel, built in 1888, making it one of the oldest hotels in the United States. Here we see Flagler College, which was formerly the Ponce de Leon Hotel. We're going to talk about it more when we get on that side of the street. The Villa Zareta Museum was built in 1883 as the winter home of Franklin Smith, who was a Boston millionaire. It was sold in 1913 to a family who has owned it ever since. The Ponce de Leon Hotel, also known as the Ponce, was a luxury hotel built by millionaire and Standard Oil co-founder Henry Flagler between 1885 and 1887. It opened its doors in January of 1888. It was the first of its kind to be built entirely of poured concrete, and one of the first in the country wired for electricity from the onset. It was powered by generators installed by Flagler's friend, Thomas Edison. The whole reason Flagler built this hotel was he actually wanted to buy Villa Zareta across the street for his wife, but Franklin Smith wouldn't sell it, so he built this 540-room hotel. The interior design was done by Louis Tiffany of Tiffany & Company, and it has many Tiffany stained glass windows inside. This is now home to Flagler College, which is a private liberal arts school founded in 1968 with about 2,600 students. The Andrew Young Crossing Monument shows 11 bronze footprints, each displaying a word that characterizes the civil rights movement.
Here we are entering St. George Street. The street is blocked off from vehicle traffic. It is arguably the heart of the commercial district, so be prepared for a lot of foot traffic.
The Dr. Peck House, also known as the Peña Peck House, was built around 1750 as the residence of the Spanish royal treasurer. As you check out St. George Street, it's really interesting to think about some of these old buildings. St. Augustine actually served as the capital of Spanish Florida for over 200 years before it became part of the United States. As we mentioned earlier, it is the first European established settlement in the United States. Today, St. Augustine has a population of about 14,000 people, but I can guarantee you when it's tourist season, there are a lot more than that walking around this cute downtown.
A lot of that history Caroline mentions can be found on placards on these buildings, so when you're shopping around or looking for a place for a drink or something to eat, don't forget to check out the placards. It's kind of like having your own self-guided tour.
Here we see the oldest wooden schoolhouse in the United States. Now, its exact build date is unknown. However, they know that the British burned down the whole city in 1702, so it was built slightly after that. Interestingly, it was the first U.S. classroom to offer co-ed classes all the way back in 1788. You can tour it every day except for Christmas. We've now reached the edge of town as we approach the old city gates. These were built in 1808 as the first line of defense against attacks.
So after an awesome morning spent exploring most of the usual tourist attractions, Caroline and I decided it was time to regroup with some lunch and then go check out some of the residential parts of this excellent downtown. So we begin the afternoon exploring a parallel street to St. George, which looks like it had a lot of bed and breakfast. So if that's your thing, odds are this would be where you'll end up staying, about 1 block off from the heart of the downtown. Many of the historical homes also have placards giving you a little bit of their history.
Here's one of a few distilleries in St. Augustine, the St. Augustine Distillery in a former ice plant. You can actually do tours and tastings there. In this section of the video, you'll see a lot of references to the Freedom Trail. This is a self-guided tour of 31 historical markers. It was founded in 2003 and commemorates the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. St. Augustine actually played a major role in the 1960s civil rights movement. In addition to the placards, you can actually do a cell phone audio tour. The Freedom Trail takes you through historic Lincolnville, which was founded in 1866 by former slaves.
All right, my beer dar is working great. Streak of finding a microbrewery is almost perfect at this point.
Definitely.
So now we're back into the neighborhoods just to pick up the last things we may have missed.
We had such a great time in St. Augustine. The rich history, the beautiful day, the waterfront, you couldn't ask for a better time.
I agree. St. Augustine has always been a bucket list destination for me, and it was definitely the #1 priority for this year's travels.
So here's the neighborhood Jeff referenced earlier in the video with some of St. Augustine's most historic homes. I think what's pretty surprising to me is in an area that gets hurricanes, how many old homes have actually survived. The Lombius House was built sometime before 1763 and is one of the few houses in Florida to survive from the first period of Spanish Florida.
We definitely could have turned this whole video into a history lesson, but chose not to, because that's part of the fun of traveling and exploring new places. So with that said, it's time to wrap this video up. All right, what'd you think of St. Augustine?
The city is incredible. I mean, it is the oldest in the United States, and it's just so amazing how many of these old buildings actually survived and have been continually used. I loved reading all the placards in front of old buildings and houses. I just thought it was great.
Yeah, if you love history like I do, and I really love American history, I mean, this is literally the oldest city in America, and it's just really fantastic. If you like Savannah, Charleston,
Right.
this is right in that same vein. Beautiful old buildings, waterfront. I mean, this is a huge thumbs up.
Agreed.
All right, get off the couch. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.